So I think the first thing you've got to realize is that not all trust is equal. And obviously, any kind of trust you can put on the website will help. But like there was the kind of like the check in the box trust that we used to put on our e-commerce sites that kind of helped. And like that showing people, not coming to the site and being, seeing that kind of like be the first to review this product and all those kind of things. It's like putting the energy on it. It's like you go back to the busy restaurant test, is that the people are buying from the store. But that when we started to really see breakthroughs with the conversion rate was when we were adding the right kind of trust. So the trust in what and what we wanted to prove and what we wanted to do. Because often we'll say to people, okay, yeah, go and put some testimonials on the site, and they'll just put some testimonials on the site. But there's testimonials and there's testimonials, and some of the testimonials are really interesting. Hello, Ian. How are you? Good morning.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
So you've got your cup of tea.
I know. Well, it's quite late in the afternoon for me. Hence why I say good afternoon. And I was trying to reduce my caffeine intake, so I've swapped it to tea.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I drink tea before I go to bed. I can't sleep as well, though. To be honest, it's still quite strong for me. But I don't really drink coffee, so. Anyway, the most important thing is to ask you is the weather, because when I talked to you before, you had a woolly coat on with a big thing, and obviously for the podcast to look good on the video, you've taken it off. But
I did. Had a big ski jacket on, and I'm inside.
Yeah,
so it's not like I'm outside. It's that cold. It's just the weather is plummeted. It's like 4 degrees.
Yeah, and we've had more people tell me that they like us talking about the weather. But I think, to be honest, he said that if I say I like you talking about the weather, can I get a plug? And that was Forever Everton, who was one of the people we were working with. So there you go, Forever Everton. It was for the Everton Football Club, and for all your Everton football needs, go and have a look at his store. I'm going to get absolutely cascaded with people telling me how much they like the weather, just for a shout out. Done 2 now.
We don't need any more encouragement. I mean, when we're not recording the podcast, it's still our default go-to.
It is. It's a good icebreaker, isn't it? Anyway, you'd be happy to know it's raining here, and I'm starting to wear a jumper yesterday. So it is what it is. All right. So I believe we had a week off. But we're in the sequence of the Dominoes.
Well, because it was half term in the UK.
Yeah.
End of February, half term. And at this point, I should say, it's when e-commerce sales start to pick up in the UK. It's when the kids go back to school. And last week of Feb, because February is normally one of the worst, slowest months for e-commerce in the UK. It's always been a tricky month.
And America can be really poor as well. And it's one of those months as a media buyer that I just was always like, I just want to get to the end of this month, because what tends to happen is whoever I was buying media for would freak out, because everybody is very much focused on that last 2 weeks that they're looking at, and they go, oh, this is really bad. I'm like, yeah, but last year was bad. And also, the trouble was with COVID, like a lot of those Februaries weren't real Februaries, because they were either in a lockdown or they were in that boost. And then so you had like 2 or 3 years of not having the February, and now we're having the Februaries again, and people are like, oh, what's this? Drop in sales.
It's when seasonality is becoming normal. Becoming normal again.
Just normalizing it again. Yeah. So it is what it is. Anyway, we're on to, I think there's 6 dominoes, I think. Is that right?
There is, Mark.
6 dominoes, and we're on to the 5th domino. I actually think I know what the last domino is. And this one is trust and credibility, isn't it?
That's right.
We're going to talk about today.
So last week, 2 weeks ago, we combined the 3rd and the 4th together. And the 3rd and the 4th was job to be done and what people want. And then anxieties, which is what people worry about. That's what they don't want. So we normally talk about those 2 things together. Is it worth just saying what the 6 are dead quick or not?
Because, if everyone's like me, I've got no idea what they are. So
such faith in your
system.
Little brother.
Yeah.
So first one's busy restaurant test. I forgot myself. First one was busy restaurant test, positioning, which is like brand positioning, making sure you're in the right place. Second one is navigational flow, which is helping people find the right product. Third one is job to be done, like what they actually want. Fourth one, anxiety reducing. Fifth one that we can talk about today is trust and credibility. And then the final one is offer architecture, taking action, offer architecture. So just to summarize the trust and credibility one, it is about proving that you can back up the job to be done and the anxiety reducing. And I think it comes a lot. I think you said this last time that you were talking about when you invite people into some of our e-commerce programs, you always ask them the question, you say, well, tell me about your business. Why should people buy from you? And they often say things like, oh, we've got great customer service. We're a family business. We really care. We go the extra mile, yada, 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 yada. And then when you have a look at the websites, there's no evidence whatsoever that they've actually ever done this. And so the trust and credibility is really, overall, it's showing people that people have bought from you before, but more than that, it's actually giving evidence that you've uncovered during the job to be done, which is what people want and what they're anxious about. It's honing in on those by giving proof in not just, and we're going to go through where and how we do it, but not just one line in some random place on the site, but it's oozing itself in many orifices of the entire e-commerce business, not just the website. Oozing itself out of every orifice. Yeah.
But it used before the recording, which was resonating across the site, was probably better than oozing out of every orifice. It's a way you just better describe it.
Dramatic as I tell the stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing you've got to realize is that not all trust is equal. And obviously, any kind of trust you can put on the website will help. But like there was the kind of like the check in the box trust that we used to put on our e-commerce sites that kind of helped. And like that showing people, not coming to the site and being, seeing that kind of like be the first to review this product and all those kind of things. It's like putting the energy on it. It's like you go back to the busy restaurant test, is that the people are buying from the store. But that when we started to really see breakthroughs with the conversion rate was when we were adding the right kind of trust. So the trust in what and what we wanted to prove and what we wanted to do. Because often we'll say to people, okay, go and put some testimonials on the site, and they'll just put some testimonials on the site. But there's testimonials and there's testimonials, and some of the testimonials are really interesting. And one thing you said before, which was when people sign up to my programs, I ask people, why would someone buy from you? Like just in a few words, why would someone buy from you? And the reason I ask them that is not necessarily because I want to actually find out why people buy. What they think there is the reason people buy from them, and then I can understand how far they are away from where they actually need to be, and where I've got to teach them and where I've got to coach them. Because effectively, the answer to that question reveals a lot about the maturity of the conversion rate of that business. And if someone says, oh, we're a family business and we've got great service and that's why people buy, and it's not on the site, effectively really answering the question with, I don't know why people buy from me. Because there's a difference between those two answers. And effectively someone says, oh, people buy from me because we're the cheapest in the market, we've always got the best price. Like I understand that they understand that market. And if they're selling other people's products, that's probably, that we've got, if someone said, one of our really big clients who sells other people's products said to me, health products, we said we've got the best availability of health products, we've got trust and credibility on the website, and we're always got a great price. Effectively, they've figured it out. That's a very simple one to understand. But in terms of other websites, like people buy Apple headphones because they're the best in the market, and people want them, and they understand why they're buying it. And
what's happening is they're coming to the Apple store with a huge amount of trust and credibility already baked in before they arrive, and that's the when I've done my speaking events, when I get one of the stories I tell, is I show a picture of you and me in a perfume ad. And so we basically took the Johnny Depp Sauvage ad with Johnny Depp looking all, obviously Johnny Deppy, and I swapped his face for our faces and changed the name of Sauvage to the Hammersley Brothers fragrance, and people laugh at it, but it's deliberately supposed to be silly, and the reason is it's because, well, imagine how silly it would be if Mark and I launched our own perfume brand. Or aftershave brand, because we have no trust and credibility in that space at all. So all we've done is copied a beautiful ad and changed our name, and that's what sometimes happens. So if you're looking at certain fashion brands or certain websites, certain e-commerce stores selling different things, they often go, well, who's the biggest player in this market? Okay, it's Ralph Lauren. Okay, so we'll make the website look like Ralph Lauren. And of course, nothing happens. It doesn't work. No customers are buying. And it's because they can't just copy Ralph Lauren, because that would be as ridiculous as us choosing.
A lot of these big brands, they own that part of the market. To own it, they've built it up over time. And therefore, they own it, and they therefore don't need to do the trust and credibility piece. But
they can get away with it, yeah.
You can get away with it. But if you are a kind of incumbent new business coming after their market, you've effectively got to build it yourself. And if you're asking people to do that on the website, then you've got to do it on the website, or you've got to do it in your Facebook ads and Instagram and on those kind of things. And
remember, I'll say a couple of things, if I may. But if you break down trust and credibility into two things, we are essentially saying that trust comes from evidence of customers who've bought before. And credibility comes from third-party recognized sources that people know already. So that in an ideal world, you need two of those things. So you don't need to launch straight away with third-party credibility, but it certainly helps. So trust is from customers, and third-party credibility is from third-party credible sources people recognize in the industry. And so the way I would start it is I would be doing review mining. So I'd be looking at my reviews that I got through Trustpilot or wherever it is, or my own personal ones that you've collected. And you'd be looking for ones that really resonate that job to be done or anxiety. So the last time we talked about job to be done and anxiety. And sometimes you find a brand positioning leans close to the anxiety for more problem-solving rational purchases. It's more about reducing the anxiety. And if it's more of a desirable purchase, you tend to lean more into the job to be done, which is about desirability. Not always, so you're looking for reviews that resonate. And I think for our demo store that we have, the bedding store, when we first launched, we just launched it quickly into the market, and we saw what ROAS we had, saw what conversion rate we were getting. And then there was a major step change when after the initial period, it was like a couple of months of launching, I don't know what it was, 3 or 4 months. And we said, right, okay, let's see what we can get out of this. And the major step change was that we leaned heavily into trust and credibility, particularly trust. Of the reviews that we had, we didn't have many, but we had, 50, 100 at the time. I'm going back a few years. And we cherry-picked the ones that we'd got that really emphasized the main job to be done and the anxiety. And one of the reviews it came through and it said something like, I used to buy all my bedding from the white company, then I found your brand, and I'm never looking back. And essentially we found reviews that really summarized why we existed and what the job to be done was. And at the end of the day, the job for our bedding was, we had bedding that looked and that was as good as the top end bedding that you can buy in the high street from the white company, but it was half the price. And so we needed evidence that people were going, oh my God, this bedding's amazing, it's the best bedding I've ever felt, best night's sleep. So we needed evidence of that from customers. And that's what we picked out. And we repeated that. So we picked out these reviews, and we essentially made sure that it was shown throughout the whole website, on every page, not just the home page, the product page, the mobile product page. They repeated 3 or 4 times of different reviews that were really hitting the job to be done. And it was the same thing on emails too. And it was the same thing on our Meta advertising that's going to be launching, and all the abandonment welcome progress. It was how do we prove that the main thing is our bedding is better than the white company, but it's half price? How do we prove that? Well, we need customers to rave about it. So we didn't just plug in the standard Trustpilot widget that pulls in the random 5-star reviews or whatever reviews that are coming in that said things like, oh, great, bedding arrived next day. Oh, great, customer service was excellent. That's not why people were buying the bedding. They were buying the bedding because it was amazing. It was the best goddamn bedding that they'd ever bought. And that's what we needed, because that was why people were buying. So we cherry-picked them and we highlighted them. We rammed it down people's faces so they just couldn't miss it. And that's when, really, we got that huge step change of conversion rate. I mean, it doubled, really, didn't it? It doubled it. Which, of course, we doubled conversion rate. We doubled the ROAS, which we could pull the traffic lever, and off we went.
We put a frame, we put a reason why. We kind of said, look, these these guys, we're better than these guys, effectively, is what we were saying through the testimonials. And that's what we're proving. Whereas we hadn't got anything to stand on before. And we didn't know, you've got to find something to stand on. And I think, I was just, whilst you're talking, I was thinking, do you remember like one of the early home decor sites in the UK was called Graham Green? I think they're still going.
Yeah, it's still going.
Just looking at the website at the moment. And they were one of the first companies to put on their homepage as seen in the magazines. And they used to put in like as seen in Home and Garden and those kind of magazines. And they were just like images of the magazines they're in. And they had that for years. And I remember this was like maybe 10, 15 years ago. And I was like, used to say, oh, you should do what they do. And I think that what's happened is that, yes, that was enough back then, but now it's not enough to just show the images. Effectively, if you want to use those, one of the quickest ways to get trust and credibility is to get a quote from someone who you can borrow credibility from and get them to say something. So, the example we've given on the podcast before is that Proper Cloth company in the US, and Proper Cloth in, I think, 2011 or something, like a huge amount of time ago, they got a quote from GQ where they say, our new favorite shirt company. And they have used that in their Facebook ads religiously for at least 15 years. And the difference between saying as seen in GQ and GQ saying these are our new favorite shirts is huge difference, because effectively they are saying an endorsement. And when you look into that, you want to go and get those quotes, they can be expensive. But if you can manufacture those or have an article in the thing and pick something out of it, they can work really well just to kind of give you that kind of like, it's almost like, those Super Mario Brothers, it's like the power up. Suddenly you become 3 times as big because you're cutting through the noise. But it's not enough now just to put the logos on to say, oh, we've been seen in these magazines, but it's like, who cares? It's not, people don't care. And also you've seen people like Forbes magazine, effectively you could pay $2,000 a year to Forbes magazine, you can get an article in it. So anybody can do it. So
I think a lot of the times the problem with e-commerce is you can't touch, feel, experience the product. Like you can a physical store. So, a physical clothing store, you can go and you can try it on, you can feel it, you can touch the fabric, you get a really good idea of how it fits. Online, the only thing you've got to go off is an image or a video and what other people say about it. So it's so important to get this done. It literally is that power. And I think the other mistake that I think people make is they showcase the reviews too soon. Like with our demo store, like until we had over 1,000 reviews, we never put our review widget there open for everybody to see, because it would have said, you've got 310 reviews. And I see that all the time with smaller businesses and sometimes they say, oh, well, we've just changed our review, working with a business now that's doing 15 million. And they've just changed their review engine to another one because they've moved from like FIFO to Trustpilot. And like, this is a big business doing 15 million. And it says right at the top, 315 reviews. And I'm like, that's why your conversion rate plummeted, because so until you're building up a decent amount of reviews, you should not be showing your big review widget, in its default form, because because what happens is it makes you look like a tiny drop shipper. It makes you look like it's basically, here's evidence that no one's really ever bought from us when we're a tiny company and there's no trust and credibility. Like the opposite of what you want to achieve is actually, it looks like there's no trust and no credibility because no one's buying from you. And so you've got to be really careful about doing that. So I say you hide it all until you build up the reviews, but you replace it with positioning statements around you cherry pick, but also saying things, how many years you've been trading, how many products you've shipped, how many customers you've dealt with, those sort of things that you do be much better presented.
And you can dive into like the first reviews. Like, so we went to Waiheke Island this weekend and we stayed in a house, and we hired the house for the weekend. And we were a bit worried about whether or not it was going to be nice because it only had 3 reviews because it's kind of recently come onto the market, but it was really nice. And looking back, we were kind of like, well, it's a lot of money. It's like to go and pay for 2 days and it's only got 3 reviews. But if they, made more of those first reviews, maybe got someone interviewed or did a video of someone like going into the house for the first time and seeing it, you can make a lot more of that trust and credibility you've got, even at the beginning, to amplify it later on. So you can get to the point where you've got 20,000 reviews and people are seeing it, and you've got that credibility. And it's getting over that no man's land, but realizing you've got to do a lot more work to get over that no man's land. You've got to fill the gaps that are there that you don't have from having loads and loads of reviews. But there are also lots of companies who have loads of reviews. And the trouble is that if you come to that site, and say they've got 20,000 reviews, and you come to the site and they scroll down to the reviews they're going to see at the bottom of the page are just going to be the most recent reviews. And typically a company that gets a lot of reviews, a lot of those reviews are like, 4 out of 5 stars. And it's just like, great service. We'll buy again. They don't give the buyer very much to go on to actually understand whether they should decide to buy the product. And effectively, you'll see it. Everybody will see a certain reviewer come in and go, oh, that's a fantastic review. Wow, that's really good. It's like, well, show it to people. Bring it out. Where are you going to put it? And so a lot of our early split testing that we do is actually the most powerful testimonials, because, I have an idea of which ones might be most powerful, but I'll come out with about 10 usually from each client, and I'll go, right, I think these are the best testimonials, but I know one of them or 2 of them are really going to hit a lot harder. But I don't necessarily know which one it is, because you can only get into the right area for the conversion rate. That's part of the experience you have. It's like, where it isn't, where it probably is going to be. But within that, there's probably going to be something that resonates. It's like, you find that note that resonates and you suddenly hit it, and it's quite subtle, and you suddenly hit it and it's a lot louder. And that's like the conversion rate works like that.
Well, we've put that like really high up on the product page. If you think it's pretty obvious when you say it that if we're trying to sell bedding, for example, and we want to highlight a review and we put it right at the top, and we put the Trustpilot, 4.8 out of 5. We have a review that says, "Great, it arrived next day, thanks," and that was the one that we chose. Versus, "Oh my God, this bedding is amazing. Best night's sleep I've ever had." Well, I have a much better idea of what that product's like. So that's completely obvious, but a lot of people aren't doing this. And I think if there's one thing, because we talked before Christmas about positioning of the brands and how we've really leaned a lot more into that brand positioning piece of emotion and where people were psychologically. But it's very, very quickly followed by the evidence of it. So what evidence do we have that can prove that this is why people should buy the product? And because without that, it's just a statement to say we have the best bedding, but without any evidence of it, it's meaningless. It's just like your masses of description that you might be writing. No one really cares unless you can prove it, and it's easy. And a good review can cut through 1,000 words that you're writing in your description. It really can be like night and day. I think the other couple of points probably worth mentioning around trust and credibility is what review engine to go for.
Okay.
And that's a point. And also, you find that you might have like Facebook reviews, which is like 3 out of 5, or Google reviews. So people tend to find places to leave bad reviews. So, what you do around those examples.
Yeah, because if you don't, like for example, as soon as we started running the bedding site, we noticed on Google that our second biggest search term for the brand was brand name Trustpilot reviews. So we were kind of like, well, in this industry, Trustpilot is the big one. Now, if we just seen brand name reviews, then we wouldn't necessarily gone with Trustpilot, because Trustpilot's probably the most annoying review engine to go with. They're expensive, they own your reviews, they make it difficult for you to leave. Whereas the other ones like reviews.io and there's loads of them, but they basically make it much easier to move around, and they're much more easy to deal with. But Trustpilot in certain markets have got that.
I think particularly in the
consumer
UK,
look for it.
Yeah. I think in the UK, and also they tend to be the first organic review engine in the UK, annoyingly. So if you take your brand, and what I would do is I'd take your brand name, whatever it is, and just put brand name space reviews and look at which review engine's coming up first, and really go with that one. Because
if you might be with FIFO and have loads of reviews on there, but the first one is like 200 reviews, and it's all the customers that are moaning about it because they just want to find somewhere to put a bad review.
If that happens, then really the only thing you can do is try and shower that with good reviews. So if, for example, let's say you're on FIFO, but Trustpilot's coming up naturally, as an example, could be some of the others, but Trustpilot's coming up first, and it's like 2 out of 5 average. That's the first impression people are going to see, and really you need to sort that out. So I would direct some reviews for, say, a few weeks or a month, depending how big you are, to the Trustpilot or the one that's coming up organically, and just get it above 4. I think as long as you're above 4, it's fine. If you're below 4, it's not fine. And it's the same with Google review or Facebook review. Just get it above 4, and then it's okay.
People will do due diligence, but they won't work that hard at it. They'll just look at what's at the top, and they'll go, oh, no smoke without fire, and they'll leave if there's those bad reviews at the top. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference to the effective overall ROAS you're going to get, because you're always going to get the 20% of the customers who always go and check. And if you don't get those 20%, you're going to be 20% down. So it makes a difference to...
I would say the people who were unsure about whether or not to get a review engine, just do it. Just go for it. Because it's also, it is a real asset for not only for obviously new customers looking to, who are deciding whether or not to buy from you from an initial recruitment perspective, but also for your business value. I think if you're trying to sell an e-commerce business, that's doing, I don't know, 5, 10 million, whatever you get to, and you're then going up to potential buyers. If you've got 10,000 Trustpilot reviews, that is really, really valuable as an asset to have, versus somebody who hasn't got any. You've got 500 on this platform and 200 on this platform. I think it's a really nice, compelling asset to own. It's worth its weight in gold. It really is, in my opinion. If I was looking to buy an e-com brand, and we saw one the other day, it was a jigsaw company, and because they were selling jigsaws, the average order value was very low, and they're getting loads of reviews. I think that particular demographic like leaving reviews, and they had built up something like 33 something Trustpilot 5-star, like 4 average. And I was just like, that's amazing. It's so powerful, because the time it would take to build up that level of reviews would be years and years and years. And it's in a really nice place to use as a pivot to launch other products from, really. So build it up, go for it.
Yeah, and I think it's also like for a lot of products, like if you're selling other people's products, like a lot of the time, the sale on the product has been done. So like we're working with a really big health company at the moment, and they one of the models is bringing over brands from the US that's popular in the UK. And if someone is looking for that product in the UK and knows it's an American thing, but looking at it in the UK, they're pretty much sold on the product. Let's say they know they want to buy that product. So if that's your website, effectively it is come down to three things. It's availability, price, and at speed of delivery, really, isn't it? And ultimately,
and then who do I trust? Do I trust that this business can deliver on the speed, the availability, and the pricing? Do I actually think it's genuine? And they look for evidence of trust and credibility. And that's really the main thing. If you're selling other people's products, just to break down what you said, the invincibility and desirability is already there in the products that you're selling. You're selling other people's products they can buy anywhere. So it's already there. You don't have to worry about building up the invincibility and desirability of the products that you're selling, because that exists. That's why they're coming. But the main job is to convince people to buy from you. And that comes down to really evidence of trust and credibility many, many times. Because you can have an amazing warranty or an amazing returns period, but unless you backen that up with this overwhelming evidence that you've done this for hundreds of thousands or thousands of people for over a long period of time, and they're all raving about you, then that really is, gold dust.
Yeah, but it's a different playbook when you're selling your own products to selling to selling someone else's products. And we've got to, like, if you came to us and worked on that kind of site, it'd be a different things that we recommend. Like, so you couldn't, let's say you were selling your own brand of homeware and you looked at someone selling other people's brands of homeware, you wouldn't have a website in the same way. Homeware is different because there's not many people selling branded homeware. In fact, vitamins is a good one.
Yeah.
Supplements. If you're selling other people's supplements, and then if you're selling your own branded supplement, the difference of the way you sell them is very different, because they're coming to the site. Do you know where you
can see that? Sorry to, I feel like I'm talking too much, Mark. You need to just tell me to stop speaking. This cup of tea has made me hyper.
I can kick you off the call just at any time.
What I was going to say is that you'll see the difference if you're selling your own products, your own brand of products that is only available for you, versus selling other people's products online. It is completely different. The strategy is different. And do you know fundamentally how you can tell what the strategy is looking at the reviews. So if you look at the reviews that people are leaving, let's say you're selling other people's products. Let's say you're a homeware store and you're selling many other people's brands of different homeware through your site. Look, the reviews will all be about delivery, and when it was bad delivery, and customer service, it'll be about customer service problems, delivery problems, availability problems. Like I said, it was in stock and it didn't arrive, and I took the day off work and they couldn't. Like, it will be all about customer service and delivery. Versus if you're selling your own brand of products and no one else's, it will all be about the product itself. It will be about quality of the product, color of the product. It will be about the feel, the comfort, the value for money, all those emotional things. And so it tells you exactly how to position your e-commerce business and what evidence of trust and credibility is important. That's actually going to matter. It's all, the answers are all there, isn't
it? They are. And I just think that there's the mistake people sometimes make is not realizing that there are two different markets, selling your own products and selling other people's. And it always takes me back to that guy who came into our offices in Manchester maybe about 6-7 years ago. And he had a chain of kitchenware stores around the UK. And he was selling, all the stuff he sold was other people's products. And we said to him, it's about price, deliverability, and availability. And that's pretty much what you've got online. And he said,
he was selling other people's products. He had no products that were exclusive to him. So his products you could buy in any website, anywhere. Argos, Selfridges, John Lewis, Homebase. They were just everywhere, weren't they?
Yeah. And he said, Ian, it's got to be something other than price. It can't just be about price online. And I think what he was going around the country employing expensive e-commerce managers until he got one that told him the answer that he wanted to hear. And I think he employed somebody who worked at Bowden, was at the big clothing store, and they employed him. And within 6 months, I think they'd gone bancrupt. It just completely failed, that the high street business had failed, and the online business had failed because fundamentally he didn't understand the market he was in. And
well, it was a different market because I didn't know you were going to mention that name. But anyway, you can bleep that one out if you want before someone
well, no, I was
sues
going to
us.
say I didn't say the actual name. I said where the person came from was Bowden.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose
But
it's
it wasn't
slightly more subtle.
Bowden.
But
Yeah.
the reason is that his business, from a bricks and mortar perspective, it kind of worked because he put his little cookware shops in really nice affluent towns where there was a footfall and there was only one cookware shop in that city or that town, and it had a kind of area, and that's what he did for many, many years. And they were lovely stores, really nice feel, and they kind of had that almost tourist effect of coming in the stores. But you take that business online, and it just did not work. It just didn't work.
Like what killed it as well was when everybody got mobile phone internet.
Yes,
and you're standing in front of a Kenwood mixer, and he's asking £360 for it, and you can get it on Argos or Amazon for £260. You're just not going to buy it.
Yeah.
Whereas before you had that ease of looking up the price, he had a business.
I think there's a lot of businesses that went through that.
Interestingly, the person that bought that business, what do? They sell the same business with the same products, but they had replaced it with own brand products, where they could control the margin and they could control what they could sell it for, and no one could price match because they controlled it. And that's.
And we're not saying that if you're an online business that's selling other people's products, that you are in any means like doomed. Not at all. We've seen some massive success, huge success, particularly recently. Actually, we've seen some really, really great successes. But you can't expect people to pay 25-30% more than everybody else and expect people to buy. I mean, it's just fundamental. You've got to go after other things. You've got to go after average order value, lifetime customer value.
No, it's one of the markets, the e-commerce markets we probably know the best. And I'm actually I just recorded the video of the big health one that you're going to look at this week. And I actually think there's some really cool things in there that can be done to increase the growth. I mean, these guys are going for like 200 million, aren't they? So, it's got to be some interesting things in there to kind of keep that level of margin and level of growth going. But yeah, but you still have to understand that the game you're playing, you can't turn up to a hockey match with a tennis racket and expect to kind of win a hockey match. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I had a dream about a hockey match last night. I was playing a hockey match. We lost just at the last minute. They scored a goal, and I was really disappointed.
Wow.
Yeah, it just came back to me.
I think we can see is our father there. I mean, the last time we all played hockey together was a long time ago. But yeah, Dad, you, me, all played hockey for Stone Hockey Club.
Yeah, I almost had a heart attack because it was going from not playing hockey to suddenly playing hockey was a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah,
you're still playing, aren't you? You must be fit. Yeah, gosh.
I mean, wouldn't say rapid as I was.
I think I'd have to play defence now. That would be as much as I could cope with. Like, not inside left, but I used to play.
It's a brutal game. I keep hurting myself.
Yeah, it is. You have to really throw yourself around.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, especially in the cold. Maybe you used to go and practice in the cold and you hit the ball, it would really hurt your hands, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've done trust and credibility, and I think domino number 5, and just as a sneak peek, what is domino number 6?
Well, domino number 6 is the offer architecture, but it's code word for reason to buy now, and that's the next one, which is a big one, which is a big part.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people start with the offer, and that's wrong.
Yeah,
people start with the offer, and of course, you can't sell ice to Eskimos, can you? Because you got a special offer.
The reason why the dominoes, to go back to the stories, they all work in order of each other. So, there's no point, like the one we talked about today was trust and credibility, and how that needs to ooze out of everywhere of the business.
Of the orifices.
Orifices. It needs to ooze out of every orifices. Is it orifices? That's not even a word. But it needs to be present in many places throughout the e-commerce business. Not just the e-commerce store, but the emails and the remarketing and the Facebook ads and everything, and Instagram. That's really, really powerful. But people don't care about, do I trust this business if we haven't demonstrated the job to be done or reduced the anxiety. So
Exactly.
it builds on top of that. And it's very, very important when we get to the next domino, which is reason to buy now. People don't want to buy now. They don't care about an offer architecture if we haven't demonstrated trust and credibility, because they're just not interested. So hence why it's done in order. Okay. Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks,
you all
Mark.
next week. Cheers.
Okay, Mark, in less than 1 minute, can you summarize the fifth domino, which is trust and credibility?
Okay, so trust and credibility. The first thing we've got to work out is what trust we've actually got to prove to the customer. And the credibility is whether we can actually use someone who's already got a lot of credibility in the market to kind of borrow from. So we want to highlight those reviews. We want to find the reviews that we actually want to bring out, split test the reviews to find out which ones are actually going to actually give us the biggest bang for our buck to actually tell the customer what they want, not just showing the most latest reviews, which might be great service or great delivery, which the customer might not even care about if they haven't proved that they can trust and we've got credibility in the market. So we want to amplify those reviews and that trust and credibility to make sure that those are the things that customers, the future customers, see before anything else.